The cold, clinical light of the boardroom reflected off the glass table as Charles pushed a thick stack of papers toward his wife. His face was a mask of pure arrogance, his lip curling in a familiar sneer that had become the soundtrack of Nala's life for the last 5 years. "Sign it, Nala," he said, his voice dropping to a jagged whisper that carried the weight of 1,000 insults. "I've spent half a decade funding your empty life, watching you play hostess and waste my oxygen. You are a decorative object that has lost its shine, a useless shadow in a house built by a genius. You have no pedigree, no brilliance, and frankly, no future in my world." Nala looked down at the documents, the word divorce staring back at her in bold, unforgiving letters. She didn't cry, she didn't beg. She simply picked up the gold-plated pen Charles had bought to celebrate his first billion and signed her name with a steady, "You're making a monumental mistake, Charles," she said softly, her voice like silk over gravel. Charles threw his head back and laughed, a hollow sound that echoed against the mahogany walls. "The only mistake I ever made was thinking a woman like you could ever understand the heights I reach every day. Now take your pity check and disappear." Before we witness the world-shaking transformation of a woman everyone underestimated, I want to take a moment to welcome you all to the channel. We are so glad to have you with us for this journey of justice. I have a question for you. Who are you, and which city or country are you joining us from today? Drop your city and country in the comments below. We love reading about our global community, so don't be shy. And if you believe that true brilliance can never be hidden for long, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button right now. It helps us bring more of these stories to life just for you. Now let's see how a useless wife became the most powerful woman on the planet. The silence that followed Nala's departure from the Sterling estate was exactly what Charles wanted, or so he told himself. He moved his mistress Sophia into the house within 48 hours, convinced that his life was finally on the right track. To Charles, Nala was nothing more than a quiet presence who organized his library, managed his schedule, and occasionally left strange handwritten notes on his desk about market trends and economic shifts. He had always crumpled those notes up, laughing at the idea that his uneducated wife was trying to help him with his multi-billion-dollar trades. But as the months passed, a strange thing began to happen. The luck that had defined Charles's career for 5 years suddenly evaporated. His investments in green energy collapsed. His short positions on tech stocks were liquidated in a matter of days. For the first time in his life, Charles Sterling was losing money, and he was losing it fast. He didn't realize that the notes he had thrown away were actually the blueprints for global market domination, written by the woman he had just cast aside. Nala, meanwhile, had not disappeared into the shadows as Charles had expected. She had shed the name Sterling like a heavy, suffocating coat and returned to her roots as Nala Vance. Long before she met Charles, she had been a child prodigy in mathematics, a woman who saw patterns in numbers that others couldn't even dream of. During her marriage, she had operated in total secrecy, using a pseudonym to publish white papers that were read by the heads of central banks. She was known in the inner circles of high finance only as the Oracle. Now that she was free from the constant belittlement of a man who feared her intellect, Nala stepped into the light. She moved to a modest apartment in Geneva, and within weeks, she was being recruited by the most powerful financial institutions in the world. They didn't see a useless wife. They saw the most brilliant economic mind of the century. Back in New York, Charles's life was becoming a nightmare. Sophia was a black hole for his remaining capital, demanding private jets and jewelry while his firm's stock plummeted. Charles grew desperate, his arrogance turning into a frantic sweating panic. He reached out to his old mentors, but they all gave him the same answer. The market had changed, and he wasn't smart enough to keep up. There was only one hope left. The World Bank was announcing a new president, a visionary who would be granted the power to oversee a massive global stimulus package. If Charles could get an audience with this new leader, he could secure a corporate bailout that would save his empire from total collapse. The morning of the inauguration was cold and bright. The Grand Hall of the World Bank was filled with presidents, prime ministers, and the architects of the global economy. Charles stood in the back of the room, his hands shaking as he adjusted his tie. He watched as Minister Ibrahim, a legendary figure in international finance, took the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ibrahim announced, his voice booming through the speakers. "For years we have followed the guidance of an anonymous genius. A person whose insights saved markets during the great volatility. Today, that person steps out of the shadows to lead us into a new era. It is my distinct honor to introduce the president of the World Bank, Nala Vance." The doors at the back of the stage swung open, and the room erupted into a thunderous standing ovation. Charles felt the blood drain from his face so quickly he thought he might faint. Walking down the red carpet, flanked by security and world leaders, was Nala. She was wearing a tailored suit of shimmering gold, her hair styled in a powerful, natural crown, and her eyes sparkling with a fire he had never bothered to look for. She looked regal, untouchable, and infinitely more powerful than any man Charles had ever known. He watched, paralyzed, as the woman he had called useless took the oath of office. He watched as the President of the United States and the Queen of England shook her hand with deep, genuine respect. The woman he had kicked out of his house for being a waste of air was now the person who decided which companies lived and which ones died on the global stage. After the ceremony, during the crowded reception, Charles pushed through the throngs of dignitaries. He cornered her near a balcony, ignoring the stern looks from her security detail. "Nala," he gasped, his voice cracking. "Nala, it's me. I saw you up there. I can't believe it. Why didn't you tell me?" "We were a team, Nala. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. But we can fix this. My company needs your help. Just one signature from you, and we can be the power couple of the century again." Nala turned slowly, her gaze sweeping over him with the same indifference one might show a passing shadow. "I am not Nala Sterling," she said, and her voice was like ice. "I am Nala Vance, and we were never a team, Charles. You were a man who mistook silence for weakness and grace for ignorance." Charles fell to his knees, right there on the marble floor of the reception hall. "Nala, please," he begged, the arrogance finally broken. "I'm losing everything. The house, the firm, it's all going under. You have the power to save me. You owe me that much for the years I took care of you." Nala leaned in close, her expression hardening. "You never took care of me, Charles. I took care of you. Every successful trade you made in the last 5 years was because of the notes I left on your desk. I built your empire from the shadows while you were busy insulting my pedigree. I let you think you were a king because I loved you, but you proved that you didn't even deserve to be a servant in my house. You want a bailout? The World Bank doesn't fund incompetence, and it certainly doesn't fund men who discard people when they think they've outgrown them." She signaled to her security team, and 2 large men stepped forward to hoist Charles to his feet. As he was being led away, Nala's voice followed him one last time. "You said I was useless, Charles. It turns out, I was the only thing that made you useful. Enjoy your bankruptcy." Charles was escorted out of the building and into the rainy streets of Washington, his designer suit soaked and his reputation in tatters. Nala Vance went on to become one of the most influential leaders in history, lifting entire nations out of poverty. She never looked back, proving that brilliance doesn't always shout sometimes. It waits for the perfect moment to change the world. We hope this story of incredible transformation and well-deserved justice reminded you that you should never let anyone define your worth. If you enjoyed seeing Nala take her rightful place at the top of the world, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join our growing community. Hit that like button to help us share this message of empowerment with more people. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.